So, word on the street is that Xbox, in the next iteration of its generation of console, is going to have a slightly different approach. And I think it makes sense. The idea now, and these are based on reports, some of them are rumors, but Jess Corden is starting to make some claims that I think are quite interesting. In fact, in his latest tweet, he said sources are starting to reach out to him to let him know that his predictions are, according to him, pretty spot on. He also went ahead and wrote an article highlighting an Xbox, executive that came from the Windows OEM side, whose job is to help expand this particular paradigm. There's also the question of platform exclusives, console exclusives, and such, but it seems like in the case of PlayStation and Xbox, these things are taking a very interesting turn. There's also the conversation that Valve is going to be debuting its first non-Valve Steam PC. This is going to be in partnership with Lenovo, and I think we're probably seeing some kind of a collaboration within this platform to be able to get gaming where users can have access to everything. So Xbox is now basically moving beyond the console, still providing consoles for people, but now providing way more options in the market with its Xbox brand. I think PlayStation is going to remain in the more traditional sense, but this really leaves a big question out there. When you put all this stuff together, you see how big the PC platform is growing. I know some of you may or may not have seen the PC platform's growth. I can show you even the PC games growth. Let's look at that first. Right now, we are at 18,737 games launched for the year 2024, about to dwarf the 14,312 last year. In fact, if you look at the Steam Direct, when they actually put that in place, that pretty much spiked up the possibility of developers to start being able to get their games in front of people. And this has continued to spike and go up like crazy. Put that in perspective for now. Let's also look at the amount of PC gamers that are available for anyone who wants to launch their game on PC. You do have a market. You just have to position your game very well. And that number of the concurrent users, that's what it is. It's a 24-hour peak and an all-time peak of people who logged on at the same time for Steam doubled. Now, it could mean one of two things. That maybe those people have always been on Steam all this while, but it just happened to be there was a day where the moon was tilted one direction and they all showed up online. It could also mean that at minimum, these are the number of people that are playing on Steam, which is insane. But this is representative of just the amount of people that logged in at the same time. Hence, there's still way more people who have not logged in and are still using PCs that just did not show up at this time. In fact, I could say I'm one of them because I remember when I saw the post on Twitter, I wasn't logged into Steam playing at any game. So again, that's something that you have to basically pay very close attention to when you're interpreting this data set. But when you think about it, though, the pivot now to actually get your hardware more versatile seems to be like something that these console manufacturers need to be looking at very carefully. In fact, PlayStation tested it out with the fact that you can put in an NVMe into your PS5, that they made a slot for it. Back in the PS4 days, you could upgrade to an SSD, but you had to do all of this stuff and whatnot. But with the PS5 and the Pro, there's a slot for you to just go ahead and say, hey, add your additional SSD NVMe if you want and be able to save your games. Xbox goofed and did not do something like that. So I think now everybody is waking up to the reality as Valve is coming into the market that they can provide the home living room piece in terms of that device for gamers. I've seen a lot of people laugh at the Steam proposition of bringing a device to the PC platform. And they say, well, the first Steam box actually failed, so Steam shouldn't be able to go ahead and do something like this. But you have to realize that all these years, Steam has been catering to console players. Things like Steam Input. Remember, I just did a video where I was talking about different controller types, and we used Steam Input to basically get the PlayStation 5 DS5 working on an old game, Arkham City on PC, which, is supposed to work, but Steam has basically curated its platform to be able to have that huge support. Not only that, PlayStation's been bringing its games to PC for Steam users to be able to at least participate in and enjoy. So all of this talk about, it's not going to, be able to, deal with or compete with the PlayStation user, it's not designed to do that. It might be in a position where it complements the traditional console user, and then if the traditional console user sees that there is a benefit to it, they may relegate to using it over their console, because it does provide a similar experience like their console, because that's what a console player wants. They don't want to, in their minds, in the minds of many console players, they think a PC is a plague, even though it's not, even though these things are already available on a PC, like Steam's OS. And, things like big picture mode. In fact, I can activate big picture mode right now so that everybody can actually take a look at it. Because, for some folk, they'll say things like, well, it's just too much to deal with in that regard. But, honestly, it really isn't. Like, it's basically one particular setup, and, you click a button and it takes you into a big picture mode. And before you know what's going on, and, boom, you have all your games in your library looking like a console. And you can turn that off whenever you want. And many people are just adamant against this. They say, oh, this is a big, we don't want to deal with this. Well, Steam is going to basically bring you a box, because that's what many people are used to. And that's what many people think when they think about, a gaming platform, that it has to have everything so curated for you. And, they're going to spoon feed you because that's what you said you wanted, right? And so you will get the spoon feeding. And from there on, you're going to be able to, pretty much say, okay, well, it's giving me what I want. So if I have PlayStation games on here, then I can basically leverage this as a machine that gives me access to not only PlayStation games, but maybe other games that I also want to play that are not available on console. So there is a market and there's a room for players to be able to explore what all is going on out there. And I strongly believe that right now, when you actually think about it and when you put it into perspective, all of this starts to make sense, in the grand scheme of things, that this particular initiative from Steam, this initiative from, Xbox and these other OEM manufacturers, they have a place. The handhelds is the proof of concept. Lenovo Legion, Asus ROG Ally, MSI Claw, and, possibly others that are looking to come into the market. Even the Steam Deck already prove that they can provide console players with a console-like experience to be able to access the PC market. I mean, it's such a proof of concept that Xbox is not even waiting for their own Xbox handheld. They want to jump in with these already existing Xbox handhelds, these other existing market handhelds, and be able to get you into the Xbox ecosystem as fast as they possibly can. So I don't know how, PlayStation and Nintendo are going to go ahead and respond to this. Maybe they'll maintain the traditional console methodology of doing things. We'll see how that works out for them. I think for the most part, they've been able to, pretty much skate by enjoying that particular paradigm. It's worked out for them. Nothing wrong with that. But the market is just shifting really, heavily. And the old school way of doing console business and doing all that exclusive and all that, that's all dead and gone. That's all gone. I mean, even this year alone, with the number of the sheer number of games that have hit the market this year, I think that already killed it. Because now PlayStation is bringing its games little by little, games that are not live service games, to PC day one. This is another shift as well that they've made. PlayStation is poised and ready for this stuff, more than even the PlayStation fans are aware of. They've started with a little bit of some testing with some games like Lego Horizon Adventures, Until Dawn Remake. People mocked me when I was actually pointing out these games. They said, oh, he's pointing at Lego. He has to basically, somebody said I was grasping at straws. That's what they said. I was like, grasping at straws? They didn't tell you that they were bringing these games day one to PC. They were able to communicate exactly what they were doing. But then now we get a game called Lost Soul Aside, which is a second-party game, unlike Hellblade, which was a second-party, as a Hellblade, Stellar Blade, which was a second-party game, but did not have a day one PC launch on purpose. They wanted to bind it to the console to sell units. But Lost Soul Aside, seeing how Stellar Blade did not perform past its 1 or even 2 million in sales, very weak in my opinion, compared to like say Final Fantasy, or even compared to the possibility it would have had if it had a PC launch, they have decided that they're more than likely going to take the rails off their second party games. I mean, it's 2 in a row with second party games. It's not even like, if you look at a trend, you can't help but, conclude that this is probably what is going to be happening, from now henceforth. Even with their first party games, they've basically tested it out in a small sense. I mean, think about what they've done with Lego Horizon Adventures. I've seen people try to dance around it. Oh, it's not a Sony game. Shush. It was developed by Guerrilla Studios. It was also developed in conjunction with Studio Gobo, but it was published by PlayStation LLC. In fact, a producer from Guerrilla is on record, basically celebrating the fact that they were able to publish this game for Nintendo, that they were able to develop the game from Nintendo, not just develop the game, but they were able to take time to develop it for the Nintendo platform. He put it on Twitter. I made a video about it. I showed you guys. I still have it bookmarked for any of you who may be interested in seeing a PlayStation developer celebrating the fact that they made a game for Nintendo. So PlayStation is ready. You in the PlayStation side thinking that exclusivity is going to stay the same, you're just not aware, because just like that, the moment they see that there's room to sell, software, they would have already kind of conditioned you. You don't know it yet. Many people are still fighting this whole exclusivity thing. Oh, there's no way they'll ever bring their games, blah, 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 blah. My dude, they're already conditioning you little by little. Remember, it was no game at first. You remember that, right? It was no game would go out of, it was only for PlayStation. That used to be it. And then they slowly said only live service games, when our tentpole games won't make their way, and our single player story-driven games will not be there. There will be more. They said it will be more strategic. Well, here we go. The strategy be changing on you, and so it's all showing up here. Like, they're a third-party publisher. This third-party event is probably presented by PlayStation PC. Bro, I'm going to make a video about this because last time I did, somebody was yelling at me on the internet saying I was lying. But again, Steam is over here saying it. Talk to me in the comment section, guys. Peace out.